All right, so this is the seventh grade Unit 7B test review for circles and composite figures. So, questions number 1 through 5 says we need to draw a line from the words to the corresponding part of the circle. And so, we have the center of the circle. We know the center of the circle is this dot here in the middle. Radius is the line segment that originates at the center and moves out to the edge of the circle. Diameter is this piece that goes the entirety of all the way across, starting on the circle, going through the center, and then ending the other side on the circle. So there's our diameter. Circumference is this part that goes around, or the perimeter of the circle. And of course, area is all the stuff inside of the circle. So the gray shaded part would be the area. For questions 6 through 10, we're basically just putting into words these formulas. And so instead of me writing it, I'm just going to tell you what they are. But I think for the most part, you guys should have this pretty well. So we have radius equals half the diameter. Diameter equals twice or 2 times the radius. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Number 9, circumference equals 2 pi r, or 2 times pi times the radius. And of course we know that twice the radius is the diameter, so that's how that makes sense. Number 10, area of a circle. Area equals pi times the radius squared, or pi times radius times radius. All right, so then question 11, pi is the ratio of 2 measurements on a circle. How is pi calculated? Well, we did this when we did our intro to circles, our very first day, where we measured the circumference of several different cans, a couple of cylinders, a cleaning wipe bottle, and some little tiny clear cylinder, and also some rolls of tape. And so what we did is we took that measure of the circumference, we divided it by the diameter, and what we found was no matter what circle it is, we got pi as our answer. And then we also talked about how pi is that ratio of my circumference divided by my diameter. All right, so question number 12 says find the circumference of a hula hoop whose diameter is 24 inches. So I'm looking for a formula that deals with circumference and diameter. And so when I look at my MVP, my most valuable paper, my star formula chart, I see that circumference equals pi times diameter. And so I write down my formula. So I always recommend write your formula, substitute what you know. So do I know circumference? No. And do I know diameter? Well, I do. Diameter is 24 inches. So pi times 24 is 24 pi. And I do need my units, so then my answer would be circumference equals 24 pi inches. Question 13, what is the diameter of a tire that has a circumference of 7 pi inches? Same thing, I have circumference, I have diameter, so I need a formula that uses both. And so it's the same formula, circumference equals pi times diameter. Now I'm going to substitute what I know. Well, I know what circumference is. So circumference is 7 pi, and then equals pi, and then do I know the diameter? I do not, so I'm going to leave that. And so now, wanting to solve for diameter, I need to get that by itself. I have pi times diameter right now, so I need to undo that. The inverse of multiplication is division. I need to divide by, whoops, that is not right. I need to divide by pi to get diameter by itself. So if I divide by pi on one side, I need to divide by pi on the other side. Pi divided by pi is 1, and then on the other side, pi divided by pi is 1. So that's going to leave me 7 equals diameter. So then my answer is going to be that my diameter is 7 inches. Question 14, find the area of a circle whose radius is 6 feet. So area formula for a circle, area equals pi times radius squared. Now I need to substitute what I know, so I don't know the area. But I do know my radius is 6 feet, so 6 squared is 6 times 6. So that gives me 36 times pi. And so my answer is going to be area equals 36 pi. And I do need my units. And so this is 6 feet times 6 feet. Well, 6 times 6 is 36. Feet times feet is going to be feet squared. Plus I know that it's area, so I need to have square units. So area equals 36 pi feet squared. Question 15. A rope light will be attached around the edge of a table whose radius is 1.5 meters. Find the length in meters of the rope light needed. So it's going around the edge of a round table. So if I'm looking at the edge of a round table, then that's going to be the circumference. And I have my radius. So I need a formula that deals with circumference and a radius. And so when I look at my MVP, it's going to be circumference equals 2 times pi times radius. So I don't know the circumference, and so 2 and pi are just numbers, times radius, which is 1.5 or 1.5 or 1 5/10. So now this is all multiplication, 2 times pi times 1.5. And since multiplication is commutative, I can do it in any order. And so I have 2 times 1.5, that's going to give me circumference equals 3 pi, and then I have my units, which are meters. So circumference equals 3 pi meters. All right, so question number 16. How many square meters of paint is needed to cover a round table whose radius is 1.5 meters? Well, I know I'm covering that table. Also, I see square meters. So both of those are going to tell me that I'm dealing with area. So I have area of a circle, area equals pi times radius squared. Fill in what I know or substitute what I know. So area I don't know, but I do know my radius. So it's 1.5 meters times 1.5 meters. And so 1.5 times 1.5 is 2.25. And meters times, well, hold on, times pi, so I can't forget pi. So 2.25 pi times, or my units rather, are meters times meters, which are meters squared. So that will give me my answer of 2.25 pi meters squared. All right, so then the next question, number 17, how many square meters of grass are covered? So again, square meters and covered, so I'm talking about area. If a 20-meter diameter circle of a soccer field is painted red, so area equals pi times radius squared. Area, I don't know, so area equals pi, or my radius, I have a 20-meter diameter. So if my diameter is 20 meters, then I know my radius is half of my diameter. So then that's going to be 10 meters squared. So 10 meters times 10 meters. 10 times 10 is going to give me 100 pi, because I have to remember to multiply by pi. So 100 pi meters times meters is meters squared. And that gives me my answer. Question number 18. You plan to decorate paper cups for a school party by gluing ribbon around each rim. So I'm going, my cups, I'm assuming, are going to be circle, and I'm going around that circle. So that's going to be circumference. And then it also tells me how much ribbon is needed for each cup if the rim measures 10 centimeters all the way across. So if it's going all the way across, that is going to be diameter. So I'm using a formula that uses circumference and diameter. Substitute what I know. So I'm looking for circumference, but I do know that my diameter is 10 centimeters. So then that's going to give me that my circumference is 10 pi, and our units are centimeters. All right, so question number 19. Which measurement would you need to find how much cheese is needed for a pizza? So cheese is going to go all the way around my circle, all the way inside of it, fill up my circle. Hopefully any good pizza, is going to do that. So we want to fill that pizza with cheese. And so since it's going to fill in all of the circle, that is going to be area. Which measurement would best help you find what size take-home box you need for a pizza? So my box, I need to know if my box is big enough across to fit that circle. So again, I'm looking at that measurement across my circle, and so that would of course be the diameter. Write an equation that we can use to find the area of a quarter circle. So a couple of things that you guys could do. You could have written that area equals pi r squared. Divide that whole thing by 4. Another thing that we could have written is area equals pi r squared times a fourth. Written that way. Or area equals pi r squared times 1/4. So that's just 3 different methods that you could have done, and any of those should be fine, just so long as you know that once you find the area of that circle, you need to divide it by 4 or multiply it by a fourth. So that's going to get you just that area of that fourth of the circle. So, all right, question number 22. John has a round swimming pool. The distance from the center of the pool to the edge is 3 meters. So if he had his round swimming pool, from the center to the edge is 3 meters. And so that looks to me like a radius. Wants to know, well, what is the diameter? So if the radius is 3, my diameter is going to be 6 meters. Question 23, find the area and perimeter of the composite figure on the right. So in order to do that, for perimeter, we're definitely going to need to find all of the missing sides. So if over here is 24, then this would be 24, except for I've got a chunk of it missing out. So 15 of it's missing, and so 24 minus 15 is going to give me 9. So this one piece here is 9 feet. The whole thing across on the bottom is 30, so that would be 30, except I got some missing. So 30 minus this 14 that I have here. So 30 minus 14 is going to give me 16 feet. And now I have enough information. I can just add up all of the different sides. And so when I do, I should get 108 feet for my perimeter. And it's important to note that my units is just feet, just linear measurements, measuring all along each piece. Area, however, I'm going to need to find area of 2 different pieces. So there's a couple ways you can break this. You can break this into 2 rectangles this way. You can break it into 2 rectangles that way. Or you can make it really complex and break it into other shapes. But 2 rectangles is going to be the easiest. So if I do this, I now have a base 14 by a height of 15. So a 14 by 15 rectangle. And then here I'll have a base of 16 times a height of 24. And so I'll get my 2 different rectangles, add them together. And so when I do that, I'm going to get 694 feet squared. Hold on, that's not right. That looks like a 594. There we go. 594 feet squared. All right, so question number 24. Question 24 says to find the area of the shaded portion. Now this one does tell me to use 3.14 for pi, so I do need to calculate it all the way out. So other ones I can leave in terms of pi, but if it tells me to do that, then I know I'm going to have to multiply. So I have a circle with a radius of 6 centimeters. So area equals pi times radius squared. So area equals pi times 6 times 6. So 6 times 6 is 36 times pi. So now I have 36 times 3.14. So 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 1 is 6, 7, 8. 6 times 3 is 18. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So that gives me 4, 13, 9, 10, 11. And I have 2 decimal places, so 113.04 would be the entire circle, but now I need to divide that by 4. So, no, multiply that by 3/4, I'm sorry. Multiply that by 3/4 because I have 3/4 of the circle. So 113.04 times 3/4. 5 times 0 is 0 plus 2. 5 times 3 is 15. 6 and 5. And 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21. 7, 8, 9, and 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So 84.78 or 84 and 78 hundredths centimeters squared. So 84.78 centimeters squared will give me my answer. All right, question number. Oh, and just to, for clarification on number 24, found the area of the entire circle, multiplied that by 3/4 or 0.75, right? Because I have 3/4 of a circle. When I did that, I got 84 and 78 hundredths centimeters squared. So question 25, it says that the 3 semicircles are congruent. So I have these 3 semicircles up top here, and they are congruent, meaning they're all the same. I need the radius of one of the semicircles. So it's sitting on top of a square, and it tells me that right here. So it's a square. And so I know that this top thing is 27. Well, 27 divided by 3 is going to give me 9. So these are 9-inch diameters. So then my radius, being half of a diameter, would be 4.5 inches. What is the area of one semicircle? So again, use 3.14 for pi. So I'm going to have to go ahead and multiply that out. So area equals pi times radius squared, or area equals pi times 4.5 times 4.5. And so 4.5 or 4.5 times 4.5 is going to give me 20. So area equals 20.25 times 3.14. So then when I multiply that out, I'm going to get 63.585. And so since I only have half of a circle, I need to divide that by 2. And so when I divide that by 2, I'm going to get approximately 31.79. And my units are inches squared. All right, so what's the area of the entire composite figure? Well, I know I have 31.79 times 3 for my 3 semicircles plus whatever 27 times 27 is. So if I go ahead and do that, so my 3179 or 31 and 79 hundredths times 3 is going to give me 95.37, and then 27 squared, or 27 times 27, is going to give me 729. So that if I add those together, I'm going to get an answer of 824 and 3700. So my units, because I'm talking about area, is inches squared. All right, next, number 28. So the figure shows a circle inside of a trapezoid. Write a strategy that can be used to find the area of the shaded region. Well, what we're going to do is I need to find the area of the trapezoid. So my area of my trapezoid is going to be the entire area here if it was all shaded. But because I'm missing a piece, hold on. Because I'm missing a piece, I have to subtract the piece that I'm missing. So it's my area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height, which is my area of my trapezoid, minus the area of my circle, which is pi r squared. So if I do that, that's going to give me the area of my composite figure. All right, so question number 27. Hyams Junior High is building a new football field that will be surrounded by an oval running track and is pictured below. So I see here I have what looks like a square, 75 meters by 75 meters. That would also mean that 75 meters is my diameter of my semicircle. And if you notice, I can take this semicircle and this semicircle and stick them together, and I'm making one complete circle. So in effect, what I have is I have an entire circle plus I have a square. So that makes it a little bit easier to figure out. So finding the perimeter, well, the perimeter, I only have two pieces. So I have my, and let me use a different color so it's a little easier to see. So, yeah, let's use the big fat red. So I have that and this, so that perimeter is going to be an entire circle. And then for my square, I only have two sides. So that makes it a little bit easier to understand. So my circle perimeter is just, and so it's circumference equals pi times my diameter, which is circumference equals, hold on. My diameter is going to be, let me substitute what I know. So circumference equals pi times 75. So that means that it's 75 pi. And if I were to go ahead and multiply that out by using 3.14, so 75 times 3.14 is going to give me 235.5 meters. But now I still have 75 and 75. So I still have the two pieces. So 75 and 75 is 150. So 150 meters added onto that. So that's going to give me 235.5 plus 150. So 385. I think that's right, 385.5. I just double check my work here. Yeah, so 385.5 meters will be the perimeter of the entire thing. So that's my circumference of my circle plus that 150 of my 275 lines. Finding the area, though, it's area of the circle plus area of the rectangle. So it's the entire area of my circle plus the entire area of my square. And so area of my circle is pi times radius squared. And so radius is going to be half of my 75. So if I take 75 and divide it by 2, that's 37.5. So area equals pi times 37.5 times itself. Which is going to give me a big number of 1406.25. And then I multiply that times 3.14. And that'll give me my area of the circle is 4,415.63625. And this is meters squared. And then the area of my square is base times height, or 75 times 75. And so 75 times 75 is 5,625. And I just need to add these two together. And that's going to give me a total composite area of 10,040 and 63 hundredths. And of course, my units are meters squared. Alright, so I know some of these numbers are a little crazy, and I get that. And as I told you in class, I wanted to have some difficult questions on the review, so that way when it comes time for the test is going to be that much easier. And so there are some very similar questions on the test. Don't stress too much about it. As long as I know what you're trying to do, as long as you know how to find the perimeter and the area of this figure, as long as you know how to do it, which formulas to use, that's really what I'm looking for. That's really what I care about. And so if you know how to do it, you know what formulas to use, then you will do fine on the test, I promise. So don't worry too much about that. So last question, and then we are done. 30 minutes total, looks like. I find the area of the composite figure shown on the right. So I have here a triangle, and I have a base of 8 and a height of 8, because if I rotate my triangle around, it would look like that, and I would have 8 as my height, 8 as my base. And so area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So base times height, 8 times 8 is 64. Half of 64 is 32. So that's going to give me 32 centimeters squared. And then of my rectangle that I have here, so here's my rectangle. And I have a 7 by 8, or a base of 8, height of 7. So 8 times 7, and that's going to give me 56 centimeters squared, and I'm just going to add them together. So 56 centimeters plus my 32 is going to give me a total area of 88 centimeters squared, and we are done. So hopefully this helped. If not, I have a couple of tutorial sessions between right this moment and the test. And again, the test is on Wednesday, so hopefully this helps, and we'll see you in class.